Example 10, definitely wanted to get some trig in here somewhere. So this is where we're going to do it. Notice that we're going to have to use both the chain rule and the product rule because, hey, on the inside of the sign, after we derive the sign, we're going to have to derive this x times y. So a little bit of product rule is going to be necessary here. So, usual first step, slap some parentheses around all your y's, and then go to town deriving. Derive the left-hand side. This is going to require the chain rule. So we have to derive this sine. The derivative of sine is, of course, cosine. You'll leave the inside alone. Nothing changes about the inside ever. Then you multiply by the derivative of the inside, just using the chain rule. So in order to derive the inside, namely this stuff, you need to use the product rule. So to derive the first thing, you get 1. You leave the second one alone. And then you add on when you leave the first alone, and then derive the second. So the derivative of y is y prime in this case. So that's that. The right-hand side is about the same in terms of trickiness. So let's handle that. The derivative of cosine, because we have to use chain rule here, is minus sine. And then you leave the entire inside alone. Change nothing. And then you multiply by the derivative of the inside. So the derivative of x is just 1. I'll put some parentheses around that y as well. And then we need to use the power rule here. So we bring this 2 down in front and subtract 1 from the exponent. So this gives us 2y to the first times, okay, now we need to derive the inside function, which is y prime. Okay, so that's that. That's the product rule. I mean, not product rule, that's the chain rule. All right, so now the idea is to try to get some of this y prime stuff by itself. So in order to do that, the best way we can do this is simply take this whole block and then FOIL it into this. Similarly, we want to do the same thing on the right-hand side. Distribute this to each term. Okay? So let's handle the left-hand side first. We're going to take the entire cosine and distribute it to each of these terms inside this set of black parentheses. So this gives you cosine x y times y. Know that y does not get put inside the cosine with the other y. Everything inside that cosine is locked in there, and nothing changes it ever. Okay? And then you have cosine of xy times xy prime. Okay, so that handles the left-hand side. Now we need to handle the right-hand side. Same approach. You're going to take this minus sign of stuff, distribute it to each of those terms inside the second set of parentheses. So you have minus sign of x plus y squared times 1. So you can write that if you like. Plus, I'm going to run out of space, so I'm going to put a plus here in the next line. Or rather minus, because we have a minus sign. Oops. Then we have minus sign. Come on. Minus sign x plus y squared times y, times 2y times y prime. There we go. So the reason we just distributed all of this is so that we could isolate our y prime stuff and our non-y prime stuff, because we have it kind of grouped together inside each of these parentheses here. We have some y prime stuff and we have some non-y prime stuff. So distributing separates it to some extent. All right, so now the idea is to get all your y prime stuff onto the left-hand side, all your non-y prime stuff to the right-hand side. So why don't we do that? Let's subtract over all of our non-y prime stuff. So cosine of xy times y, subtract that from both sides. And then we're going to bring all of our y prime stuff to the left-hand side. I'll do that in the next step because this is complicated. So these guys kill each other, leaving us with cosine of xy times xy prime. And this is equal to minus sine of x plus y squared minus sine of x plus y squared times 2y prime minus cosine of xy times y. Okay, not quite done yet. We still have a y prime on the right-hand side. So what we're going to do is we're going to add that to both sides. Okay. So we handle the right-hand side, and then now we need to do the left-hand side. Okay, now rewriting. There should be a prime on that y. There we go. Then we have cosine of xy times xy prime plus sine of x plus y squared times 2y prime. And then this is equal to everything that remains. So we killed off this thing. So we minus sine x plus y squared minus cosine of xy times y. All right, so now we have all of our y prime stuff on the left-hand side. We have all of our non-y prime stuff on the right-hand side, just as we would hope. All right, so now what we need to do is factor out this y prime on the left, okay, in effort to get it, get the y prime by itself. So factor that out. We have y prime cosine xy plus sine of x plus y squared times 2y. And this is equal to the entire right-hand side. Okay, almost done. Last step, divide by this box. So you have y prime is going to be equal to the entire right-hand side, x plus y squared minus cosine xy times y, all over the entire box that was on the left-hand side. So writing that gives us cosine xy plus sine of x plus y squared times 2y. All right, we did exactly what this problem asked us to do after a lot of work. That's a lot, but we did it. Could we simplify this at all? Not really. There's no way to factor anything really and change things up too much. So this is going to be your final answer. The key here was just basically the challenge of deriving things at the very beginning and making sure that you use the product and the chain rule correctly. That was the core and essence of this problem. The rest was just a lot of algebra acrobatics.